Hi there, folks. Good afternoon. Good late morning to the West Coast folks. I want to thank everybody for spending some time with us today and welcome everyone to the webinar. My name is Randy Blatt. I am a customer success manager here with Jazz, and I will be co-hosting today's webinar. Again, thank you all for joining. I have a pretty special guest on the horn today. Her name's Danielle Richmond, and I will introduce her here in just a second. Today, the focus of the webinar is going to be on TrustHCS and how Danielle has used Jazz to really create an efficient, very streamlined recruiting process amongst a team of remote individuals. She's going to speak a lot more to that, so I'll kind of just introduce by saying that here. Just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. I'm sure if you've been on webinars with me in the past, you know that these are the webinar is being recorded. The chat box is available on the right side of your screen in the GoToWebinar control panel. So feel free to ask questions at any time. If the question is relevant to the current kind of topic that we're discussing, we'll go ahead and answer it right on the spot there. Danielle will provide an answer. We're going to have a Q&A at the end to address most of the questions. So just bear with us as we're walking through the webinar today. Also note that you're going to receive a copy of the slides and a recording of today's webinar, so you can share it with folks. Feel free to take it home, share it with your spouse, your children. I'm sure they would really thoroughly enjoy it. So cool. So I want to introduce Danielle Richmond. She, again, is the HR director with TrustHCS. I'll let her speak a little bit about herself here. Quickly, me, again, most of you have probably heard me talk before. Customer success manager with Jazz. I'm a big craft beer fan. I have a dachshund that is piebald and looks like a small cow, so we call him Mini Cow. And I just recently got back from a trip to Denver and the Colorado area and had an awesome time. So any customers out in Denver, you guys are in a great spot, and you might see me move out there soon. Danielle, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, excuse me, welcome on this call here on a lovely Thursday. Wanted to say hello again. I'm Danielle Richmond. I'm the HR director at TrustHCS, and some fun facts about myself. Obviously, was a figure skater back in the day. This may make people scared of me, but I do love anything crime related. My family does worry occasionally, and I love rap music, and that's my downfall. So anyway, any of the rap music fans, I hear you, love it. So other than that, I also want to add, I do have a large cow dog, my new puppy. She's about 84 pounds, and she's 7 months old. So I'm on the other side of the side of Randy. So anyway, hope everybody enjoys today and learns a few things.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Danielle. Thanks again for joining us on the call today. It's great to have you.
Sure.
So just quickly, we'll take a look at the agenda, what we're going to talk about today, and then I will stop talking and let Danielle take the reins. We're going to talk a little bit more about Danielle and TrustHCS, what TrustHCS does as a company. We'll walk through their initial recruiting challenges during, or I guess before Jazz, prior to implementing Jazz. Talk about, what Jazz actually has offered TrustHCS and how they're benefiting from using the Jazz platform. We'll take a look at the results and how Jazz has really transformed their recruiting process, making things a lot more streamlined, smoother, a lot more collaborative. We'll then do a quick Q&A, answer any of the additional questions that remain. And finally, at the end, we will provide contact information just so everybody has Danielle's contact information and can reach out with further questions or to find out a little bit more about TrustHCS. So Danielle, I'll let you take it away again here and go for it.
Okay. Well, I'll talk about TrustHCS. We are a full-service medical coding, auditing, and CDI company. For some of you who don't know what medical coding is, obviously the coders that we employ code the medical record. When you go to the doctor, you go to the hospital, they're there making sure it's recorded properly, and then, obviously the insurance companies are able to bill and pay, the hospitals and doctors are able to bill and get paid. So it's mostly a remote industry, we are 100% remote. We've been around since 2010, and I have about 480 employees, and we serve many, many clients. Again, small doctor's offices up to large, huge facilities. About me, I am the HR director here at Trust. I've been here since 2013. We have, again, about 450-ish people. It kind of moves back and forth with staffing. I'm sure you all know how that goes. I have 20 years experience in HR and recruiting, and it's kind of nice because it goes hand in hand. So I've pretty much been involved in every industry except banking. So I've touched on a little bit of everything. HIM is my favorite. Always learn something new each day. It's a great field, and obviously, you know, a field that's always needed. So it's been good. Let's see. So, you know, a lot of companies, and you all come from different places, whether you're remote or in an office. You know, I love the fact that I was able to work in an office, you know, feed off of people, see people, you know, real quick, knock on a door, hey, what's your take on this person or that person? But being in a remote environment, it's good and bad. Good, the fact that I'm remote and I can work in my PJs and be pretty comfortable. But at the same time, it's hard to engage, you know, your staff, your managers, you know, your hiring managers, even, you know, sometimes candidates. Back in the day, I had somebody actually come into the office and I sat in front of them and interviewed them. It's a little different, you know, when you're working remotely. You don't feel have that facial reaction, or you can kind of read people. So I rely a lot on my data, and Jazz, this is how this kind of comes into play, because it really centralizes everything. You know, a lot of times, you know, it's hard to engage people, like I said, but with this, it really gives you a nice central location for everything. So gotta love technology these days. Let's see, I think we can go to the next slide. So back in the day, and I don't know, again, how many people of you have been recruiting or for how long, but I used to print my resumes out and actually write my notes on the back. Yes, really archaic. But we have come a long way. Back when I started with Trust, first question I asked was, hey, where's my applicant tracking system? And they gave me an Excel spreadsheet. So yes, that hurt my ears as well. I was like, wow, this is going to be tough. So my pipeline was on that Excel spreadsheet until they remembered, oh, wait, we have Jazz here. Do you want to use this? And that was the best day of my life. So basically all the paper process, the printed resumes, the notes, Excel, all went out the window. It was wonderful. I had everything at my fingertips. Now, I'm not going to lie, you know, with my hiring managers, you know, they get to be, you know, old dogs, and they don't want new tricks, and they don't want to learn, and it's another process. But let me tell you, if, you know, once you have their buy-in and they understand that it's going to save a hire, have you hire someone a lot quicker, believe me, once they see the process and how quick and smooth it is, it was night and day for us. So it's been a great thing to have. Definitely, you know, when you're, I can get into it more, but, you know, the candidate is applying, it goes right into you get an email, you can right there, you know, move someone forward, reject them, email will go out, you know, you can move that candidate through the process paperless, even setting up the interview with your hiring manager. Everything is from a click, and it's amazing. And again, same thing like I just reiterated, in this world, for me, for being remote, I can't knock on someone's door if I've emailed them about a candidate yesterday. I can't real quick pop my head in and go, hey, you know, what do you think about Mary Jo? You know, being remote, it's an email, and they don't have to answer it. It's the phone call, and they don't have to answer that either. So, you know, that can, you know, constantly chasing team members, all these emails, text messages, all that stuff is at the wayside. Everything is in front of them. They can't, you know, take time to click quick, see everything in front of them and make that decision as far as, hey, I may want to speak to that person, or you know what, they're not going to work out. So it's very beneficial. Oh, and one last note, that third bullet, sorry, Randy, my time, the time it takes, it's cut in half. I've hired people, no joke, from the minute I get their resume in my email through Jazz. I've hired them in 4 hours. That was the quickest hire this year. So, it can happen that quick. So anyway, that was the last bullet on that. So back again, we implemented Jazz, and when they gave me my Jazz logins, I was in heaven. It definitely helped us transition and centralize everything. All of your resumes are housed in there, whether you want to move forward or not. You can, slot them for later. You can, every person that applies, I have about 40 jobs. If somebody applies as an inpatient coder, right at the click of the mouse, as soon as I get them, I can reject them and they'll get a nice little email saying thank you, but we'll call you, if we've got something for you. If I pass them through and approve them, they automatically get an email introducing me, the company, their place to test, everything. So you want to talk about a time saver, I don't have to, go through, hoops to get that person engaged. Now, if it's somebody that as a recruiter, time is of the essence. If it's somebody that I need to move on, I will see the resume in my inbox and then physically phone call them first and say, hey, saw your resume, want to talk to you, I'm going to send you an email. Usually I end up doing that for the most part, and sometimes I don't. It just depends. But it's nice that if I don't have that moment, somebody that I'm really interested in comes in, I can approve them, and bang, they get an email immediately. So it definitely helps with that. Basically, I have about 35 remote users. And again, I'm not going to lie, they were like, great, we have to learn something new. But as soon as they saw how easy it was to hire someone, they go in there. When I set up an interview for them, they go in on the day of the interview. It's going to remind them, it's in their Outlook, and bang, it pulls up. They input everything, and yes or no for a hire recommendation. It's that easy. So saving a lot of time and a lot of headache on their part, which really is half the battle. I can do my job, but it's, sometimes tough if I've got somebody on the other side not doing it as quick as I am, and rightfully so, they're busy. But, obviously, with recruiting, time is of the essence. You snooze, you lose in this industry. And if it's someone you need, I jump on them right away. So we've got about 40 jobs in our queue. And the best thing about it is Jazz syncs up to my careers page. So when I'm in Jazz under my job openings, I can open it and bang, it's open on my careers page. I can put it on hold and then it's off of there. Within 5 seconds. I've changed my openings all day, every day, just like that. The even better part about what I love about Jazz especially is the fact that not only can I have it on my careers page, but I, with a simple click, can say syndicate, and it will shoot out, and the reach you're going to get on free websites is amazing. So, really it's worth even using it for that as well. You get some reach in the industry. And there are people that find me and I'm like, wow, where did they find me? And then sure as heck, it's because Jazz syndicated it. And again, you can link up to your LinkedIn, Glassdoor, things like that. So there's also some reach with the social media, which I'm a huge social media recruiter. So I get out there and do that as well. So again, your reach is incredible. And you can make it, like right now, I don't have any specific openings. So my openings there are placeholders on my careers page, but I have syndication off. So it's not blasting out there, to 100 sites. Now tomorrow, if I have some openings, I will, again, leave them on my careers page, but hit that syndication, and that will open it up. Let me just see real quick. Do you see any questions, Randy? I just want to make sure I'm not ignoring anybody.
No, I think we're good. I think we're good on questions right now, Danielle. Yep.
Okay, good. All right, and then again, talking about the seamless collaboration, it's incredible. I have people come through the process very quick. It doesn't help that I'm OCD, so it's good and bad because I will work till 11 o'clock at night until I have to make sure that person's contacted and talked to. Everybody's home life is different, but, you know, even with kids, I kind of make it work because, again, in this industry, you know how that goes. If you find the right person, you know you got to move on them. So never skip the beat as far as that. All the candidate's information is in front of you. The big part for me that I love about Jazz is, like back on that archaic Excel spreadsheet, you know, I would update all my notes, and she wants part-time and these hours. Well, then I'd have to email the Excel spreadsheet out so everyone saw who was available and when. The most fantastic part about Jazz is you have a discussion box, and it is archived to the minute that person emailed to the minute you hire them. You can see who, what, when. So I can talk to Mary Jane. My 2 assistants can talk to Mary Jane an hour later, and a hiring manager can talk to her all in one day. And that next morning, I go into Mary Jane's file, and everything is there. I don't have to call my assistant and say, what did she say? There's no emails back and forth. Everything's in front of you. That is tremendous and a huge time saver. Another thing is, again, I'll go back to the messaging. I tailor my messages they're so specific that by one click, certain people get an email with testing, some don't, some get turned off, some are put on hold with an easy, you know, the ease of a click. So it's super user-friendly. At first, my managers were like, oh, we got to learn a new system. They learned it within an hour, not even. I mean, they were wonderful. They love it. And the great thing, too, is once I know one of my hiring managers wants to speak to a candidate, we go ahead and we, you know, set it up through Jazz, and Jazz will send them, you know, an email with the time. It goes right to their Outlook, their Google. You can, you know, update it to whatever system you use. And Randy, I think we lost the presentation. I see Jazz. Oh, are you going in there purposely?
Yeah. Yep. Sorry to cut you off, Danielle. I think this would be I think this would be an appropriate.
But no, that was the last bullet on my slide as far as just explaining, you know, how efficient it is and how it syncs up to pretty much everything. So there's no reason that the hiring director will forget the interview or anyone, because it sends the candidate a reminder and a set date. It sends me one. It sends the directors. So everybody knows and they're all on the same page.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Danielle. And again, I apologize for kind of jumping in there. You mentioned a couple of times just regarding the discussion tab and how easy it is to communicate, collaborate using Jazz and sending emails. So I figured this might be a good opportunity to just kind of demonstrate quickly the discussion tab using @mentions and also just quickly sending an email. Don't want to jump into your account. Obviously, I know there's some sensitive data in there. So I basically pulled up a test account here. And today we'll just take a quick peek at Tom Brokaw. We're on this big Anchorman kick with our test account here, so bear with me. Now, you'll notice here when I click into Tom's account or Tom's profile, I can go to our discussion tab. And the discussion tab is, again, a great place to capture, you know, notes and feedback on the candidate. From Danielle's standpoint, I mean, she's working remote with many other people, and it's just really easy to use this discussion tab as a means of communication between her team. So, for example, we can move the candidate into a screen stage. And a lot of times people will say, well, what's the screen stage for? You know, I don't understand, you know, why are you doing that? But this is a great way to capture that initial impression of the candidate. Once you're reviewing the resume, you can go in, I can come into the discussion tab and say, it looks like Tom will be a perfect fit. You know, let's bring him in. Something along those lines. And once I submit that comment, you're actually going to see here that that comment is posted. It's now public. It's visible to everyone. So everyone, all of my hiring team, all of Danielle's hiring team can go in and see this information. Now, the posting the comments is great. We also have this ability to @mention other folks. So @mentions are really handy because what this is going to actually do is I'm going to choose one of my colleagues from this dropdown. And this @mention, for example, in this case, I'm going to say, ask Michael to please review Tom's resume and provide comments. Now, when I hit submit here, what's going to happen is Michael is actually going to receive an email, and containing that email is a link directly into Tom Brokaw's candidate profile. So Michael can easily, from his email, just access Tom's profile and come in, review the resume, the cover letter, his personal information, provide feedback, and then once everyone has captured their feedback, you can ultimately decide if it's going to be if this candidate is going to be the one you want to bring in for a phone or get on the phone or bring in for an in-person interview. So very, very flexible. And again, as Danielle mentioned multiple times, this is a great way to collaborate with your team members, even if you're in a remote setting or if you have an office, halfway across the country. Still a great way to capture that information. Danielle also mentioned emails and being able to easily send and receive emails from Jazz. She's exactly right. We really offer a nice, easy, efficient way to send emails to your candidates in Jazz. Just want to show a quick example here. If I click on our emails tab, I can select plus, send a new email here by clicking the green button. The email in this case is going to go to Tom Brokaw. If I want to add, CC information, I can do that here. I also, from an efficiency standpoint, I can select a template from this drop down here to save a lot of time and really make my life easy. For example, in this case, I want to schedule a phone screen with Tom. So I'm going to select our phone screen schedule template. And when I do that, it automatically populates my subject line. It automatically populates all the information here that's contained in the email I want to generate and send to Tom. I can also schedule these emails. So with Jazz, you can actually delay the send of your email. If you're working late on a Sunday, for example, and you don't want a candidate to see the email come until Monday morning, you can schedule to send it in 12 hours. So extremely easy to use, very, very flexible. When I do actually send the email, Jazz keeps track of all the emails sent and received. So I can click in here to actually review any of the emails that were sent. I have date and time stamps on everything. I can print them if necessary. But very flexible, and again, a really easy way to send emails in Jazz without having to toggle back and forth between Jazz and your personal email client.
And Randy, just to piggyback on that, while you're in actually the phone screen email, I have a template that is phone screen. And what's great about it is, if you want to go back in there, I also attach in my template for phone screen, I say, hello, I'm interested in talking to you. Please let me know what date and time is good for you. And I attach critical questions that are a huge time saver as well. So it'll say, in the attached, please answer these questions and email them to me prior to our talk. That cuts down 35 minutes of my phone conversation. Because as you all know, if you ask a question, you get sometimes a 40-minute answer when it usually is something fairly quick. So what I do is, it's wonderful that the day I am scheduled to talk to Tom Brokaw, I've got everything I need in front of me, and then I can just have him elaborate. So that's a huge time saver, adding attachments into these templates. It's going to take you time to set up your templates. It took me almost a day, but I'm telling you that the time you're going to save later is incredible.
Yeah, agreed, Danielle. That initial time you spend up front to build out the templates is really going to save a lot of time in the long run. So yeah, that's well said.
And real quick, there was a question to the person asking about LinkedIn. I too have a LinkedIn recruiter account hooked with Jazz. I had the same problem, but it was LinkedIn. So I would definitely push back on LinkedIn about your integration. Do you remember, Randy, I had that issue? And it was on the LinkedIn side for me. I don't know if it's the same for you, but I would push back on LinkedIn.
Yeah, agreed. And, Peter, appreciate the question. I saw that, and I'm a little bit disappointed, but we'll definitely reach out. We'll make sure that we get it resolved, and I'll reach out to my contact at LinkedIn to ensure that you get set up properly. Cool. Anything else to mention, Danielle? I know that you had talked about the ease of just kind of dispositioning candidates through the process and making sure you're keeping track of everyone as they're moving through the process. Any kind of comment you want to make on that?
No, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, obviously, how you have the active stages, your hired stages, your non-hired. These are critical to have correct, because when you're going to go report, you want to make sure they're all in the right spot. So, we do a lot of reporting to our board. So as long as your stages are on point and you have everyone in the right stage, your reporting's a heck of a lot easier later. So just make sure you have those stages, well documented. And another big thing, Randy, if you want to go on users, on people, the nice part about this is, I enter in my notes for day of offer, it says, ABC client, $40 an hour, start date. I don't want everyone to see that. So you can add people as far as an account type. My admins that know everyone's salary, we're all administrators because they could see everything. But, my directors and stuff, I don't want everyone seeing everything. You can have them a user, a recruiter, and that will limit, some of what they see.
Yep, very good point. So a couple of questions have come over just in regards to the email functionality in Jazz that I think it would be pretty beneficial to address. So Jazz actually integrates with two different calendar functionalities. Google Calendar is one, and then Microsoft Outlook is the other. With Outlook, make sure you're on an Exchange server, and we do actually offer a full integration with both. So good question, and it's, again, as Danielle mentioned, once you do have that synced up, very easy to go in, view the availability of you and your teammates and your colleagues right within Jazz, and that way you're able to easily schedule interviews right within Jazz.
Right. When you book the appointment for Mary Jo and Jane and Bob, you're going to go in, you're going to set up the interview. They're in there as a user, so then you'll hit everyone's name, and when you hit send, everyone gets an email. The candidates, your interview is this time, this day, and then the two hiring directors, they get an interview. Hey, your interview is this time, this day, and you have the ability to then edit, sync it to Outlook, and Google. So yes, it'll sync up and show up, and they very rarely forget, which is good.
Yep, absolutely. So a couple of questions on that. I'm just walking through the questions real quick, Danielle. Bear with me for just a second. I think that's really it at this point. Danielle, anything else that you wanted me to point out that's really beneficial for you and your team inside the Jazz application before we jump back into the PowerPoint?
No, I mean, I use advertise. Oh, a nice feature. I recruit a lot on Facebook. And so what's nice is I can take where you have the advertise button, you could go into a job, click on, I believe it's advertise, that gives you the,
refer, yeah.
Refer. And it'll give you your chance to spread the word. That's fantastic. So you just click on Facebook and bang, it's right on my Facebook page. And anyone that's interested, hits click and it goes right into Jazz. So it's again, that refer is huge.
Cool. Yeah, good point. We try to make it very simple to share your jobs out on social. Obviously, it's become a pretty huge vehicle for finding talent and finding people to fill positions. So very.
I mean, that's pretty much it. I think I hit everything.
Cool. One additional question that just came over, and I want to address it. It's a good one. Thanks, Monique. If we need to collect candidate feedback from interviews, do they all need a Jazz account, or can you email the link so that they can input this information? And that's a really good question. I'll actually show you exactly how that works. So you can complete interview guides in Jazz without actually having to have a user or administrator account. So if I go into our interviews tab here, and I move I move Tom into a phone screen stage, what I can actually do is click on this little action drop down here, and I can select link to interview guide. Now I can copy this link and I can send it to anybody at all. I can send it to people who do have access to Jazz, or it can even go to folks who do not have access to Jazz. Perfect for kind of those one-off situations where you have one colleague that's going to be interviewing a couple of people for one position, but you don't really deem it necessary to add them as a user or an admin in Jazz. So all I do is copy this, I paste it, send it in an email to the person that needs to fill out the interview guide. And just as an example, all that person would do is come in, enter their name, enter their email address, and then they would have the actual guide right here, easy to actually use and complete. Now, because I've already completed this, it's not going to let me do another one, but it's very, very easy for folks inside and outside of Jazz to complete interview guides and capture that feedback.
Yes, we've used that, and everyone, has had success with that.
Cool. Perfect. I think that's really all the questions that have come over at this point. Again, if you do have questions, folks, for Jazz related or related to TrustHCS, feel free to shoot them over. I want to jump back into the PowerPoint so we can walk through kind of the results that TrustHCS has seen. And Danielle, I'll let you take it away from here.
Sure. So when I first started back in 2013, we had about 110 employees. And so again, reaching close to 500. So we've had about, I'd say, over 3,000 resumes come in that time. And again, a lot of it has to do with, not only, social media, things like that, but Jazz, because of that reach, especially with the syndicated area. So it really, you have a friend, because I'm telling you, you'll be able to reach quite a bit of people. Not every resume, of course, is perfect, but that's not the point. You get people that, a couple of people applied for jobs that, I didn't even have openings for, and it actually ended up, one of them we hired because we needed somebody like her. So, I do my best to, everyone gets an email. You want to definitely have, if you're new to Jazz, thinking about Jazz, you want to definitely have an automatic reply. And don't do we'll be in contact in 24 hours, because in 24 and a half hours, I was getting an email saying, why wasn't I contacted? So you want to kind of leave it open-ended, but, having them get an immediate, response helps. And otherwise, it's been great. Our hires, my standard hiring life cycle, busy, with more than 50 openings, is usually about 4 days. So it's pretty quick and efficient with this. So it's helped quite a bit. And again, piggybacking on that, accelerated time to hire, half the time for sure. And there are times it takes a week, because someone's on vacation, but you will move through the process awfully quick with this, with Jazz, with the help of Jazz. Again, there's no better way to track your pipeline. You can absolutely, track and report, which is huge. Report by source, hire, not hired, pass, fail, however you do it. But, the reporting is simple and really good results and data at your fingertips. And again, just same thing, hiring results. Streamlined the entire hiring process from start to finish. It's quick. We initially, again, there's going to be some headaches between you and setting up your templates and hiring managers, everyone getting on the same page. But once you do, it's a well-oiled machine, and it's a huge, huge time saver. It's incredible how well things work when you've got a system that runs well behind you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Danielle. I really appreciate it. Again, we wanted to save some time just to review any questions that came through. So please feel free to shoot over any questions that you have. We'll hang out here for a few minutes and chat a little bit. Also, I wanted to put up Danielle's information, her contact information here. If you'd like to reach out, learn more about TrustHCS, if you have any questions for her, she's very willing to kind of discuss how she uses Jazz to really make her life easier and work with her hiring team and create a nice collaborative environment for her team. So feel free to reach out to her. Obviously, you can reach out to me anytime as well. My information's up there as well. But please, yeah, feel free to ask questions. We looks like we have one that came in regarding a question regarding the workflow stages within Jazz. So I want to jump back into Jazz and just show Joanne. I want to show you exactly what's going on here. So bear with me for 1 sec. All right. So the question was regarding a pipeline, our pipeline, including a test or an evaluation for the candidate. So let me just show this real quick. All right. So what I can actually do here is I can move a candidate or customize my workflow stage so that I include an evaluation in the process. So if I move the candidate into a consider stage, what we've done is we've asked for the candidate to complete an evaluation. With that being said, once I move this candidate into this evaluation, I can assign a task to my hiring team that ensures that an email is sent out to the candidate to complete an evaluation. Now back to emails, you'll see that I have an email template here that actually contains our evaluation. So I attach a copy of the evaluation, I ask the candidate to complete it, they can complete it, and then send it right back to me. So I hope that answers your question, Joanna. Good question, thank you very much.
Or for me, I could just add, that's what I do is, in my emails, when I want to send testing, it'll say like inpatient testing link, email, outpatient testing email. I will just go into message, click that as the template, and it's a Survey Monkey, so I just kind of, hey, I would like you to test inpatient, here's the link. And then, it's embedded in the email. So mine don't necessarily have attachments. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So you can customize that.
Perfect. Yeah, that's good feedback. Thank you, Danielle. Looks like we have another one, and regarding searching candidates, or basically pipelining candidates, and how to actually search for them at a future date or future time. Good question here, Michelle. So 2 different ways you can do that. The first is going to be using our categories. So if I scroll down here on the right side of the screen, you'll see a section titled Categories. And say I want to just mark Tom here as a good future hire for a future position. And then I also want to say that he might be a good fit for a radio broadcasting position. I could add a new category here and attach these categories to Tom. Now, 6 months down the line, say I'm looking for a radio broadcaster, and I want to search my candidate database to identify folks that may be a good fit for that position. I can go up to my candidate section here. I can click on my search magnifying glass icon here. And what I can do is I can actually start searching for these different categories. So if I want to search for anybody that is in radio broadcasting, I can do that here. And you'll see that Tom is pulled up. This will also pull up any additional candidates that have categories attached to them. So again, a good way to kind of pipeline your candidates. Now, another thing I've seen that I actually really enjoy is, I enjoy showing this to people because people seem to really like it, is creating what we call a candidate pool. So if I put an asterisk in front of it, it's going to keep it at the top of my list, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a second. But if I go in here and just create kind of a generic job, type in some random information. I don't want to put it on my careers website. I don't want to syndicate it out to the free boards. But what this now allows me to do is have this candidate pool at the top of my list so I can easily access it really at any time. Say, for example, I have Tom Brokaw, and Tom is, we're not going to hire him for this evening news anchor position. We're actually going to look to hire him for the radio broadcaster position, or assign him a category as a good fit for a radio broadcasting position. I went in and I actually attached 2 categories to him. But now what I can do is I can actually click on this action drop down here, and I can add him to our candidate pool. So now what this is going to, again, it's going to give me the ability to have this pool of candidates that aren't necessarily a good fit for the current job that I'm hiring for, but in 6 months down the line or 3 months down the line, whenever I'm looking for another specific position, I can easily find them in my candidate pool right here.
Okay, Randy, I love you because I just learned something, and now I'm going to go to town. Never thought of that. Thank you. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I have a lot of those, and I can rename them whatever, but that's fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. It's definitely a good way to, again, just kind of pipeline your candidates. And Scott brought up a good point. Will the candidate pool impact your time to hire? It will for this specific position. That time to hire report breaks down each hire by position and the length of time it takes to hire for each position. So good question there, Scott. Okay, it doesn't look like any additional questions have come over. I think that's it, Danielle. I want to thank Danielle, especially you, for jumping on the call and kind of sharing your success story here with Jazz. I really appreciate you taking some time to do that. We had a great turnout. Looks like folks were really engaged, so that's awesome. Thanks everyone for attending. Please feel free to attend future webinars. I encourage everybody to join those as well. Have a great Independence Day, a good 4th of July, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks again, Danielle. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.